Rain fell like needles from the dark sky as the little girl stood near the traffic signal clutching a bundle of crushed flowers to her chest, her thin slippers soaked through, her yellow coat stained with mud and rejection, each passing car splashing water that felt colder than the words thrown at her moments ago, because just minutes earlier a group of well-dressed people had laughed when she politely asked if they wanted to buy flowers, one man waving her away like dirt, another mocking her. Voice, a woman sneering that poor children like her should not be begging on the streets, and when she tried to explain she was not begging but selling flowers to buy medicine for her sick mother, the guard outside a luxury cafe shoved her gently but firmly away from the entrance, telling her she was scaring customers, and the humiliation burned deeper than hunger as she wiped her tears quickly, knowing crying did not earn sympathy anymore, only silence, and yet she stayed because going home with unsold flowers meant another night of listening to her mother cough in pain, another night of guilt, another night of fear, so she straightened her back the way her mother taught her, whispered a prayer, and stepped forward again, not knowing that destiny was watching from across the street, because inside a black luxury car stopped at the red light sat a young billionaire, barely in his early 30s, self-made, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who had conquered boardrooms but lost something softer along the way. And as he stared absently out the window thinking about deals and deadlines, his eyes caught the sight of the small girl standing alone in the rain, her hands trembling as she held those flowers like they were her last hope, and something about her, maybe the way she refused to sit down, maybe the quiet dignity in her posture, maybe the tears she wiped away quickly as if ashamed of it, made his chest tighten in a way money never had, and when the light turned green, he didn't move, startling his driver, because at that exact moment he saw a man shout at the girl, knocking a flower from her hand into the muddy water, and the girl bent down to retrieve it without protest, whispering sorry even though she had done nothing wrong, and that single word cracked something open inside him, a memory of his own childhood when he too had been poor, invisible, dismissed, when his mother sold vegetables on the roadside and pretended not to notice insults so he wouldn't feel ashamed, a memory he had buried under success and steel, and before logic could stop him he told the driver to pull over, stepped out into the rain in his expensive suit, and walked toward the girl as people stared, some annoyed, some curious, and the girl looked up in fear, expecting another scolding, another shove, her body instinctively shrinking, but instead she saw concern in his eyes, genuine and unguarded, and when he gently asked how much the flowers cost, her voice shook as she answered, afraid he would mock her too, and when he handed her far more money than she asked for, she froze, thinking it was a mistake, insisting she could only take payment for the flowers, not charity, and that refusal, so rare, so pure, made the young billionaire smile for the first time that day, and he knelt down in the rain so he was at her level, ignoring the stares, and told her she was not poor in spirit, that she was strong, and that strength deserved respect, not humiliation, and as he stood up, placing the flowers carefully in his car, he told her to go home and take care of her mother, but what he didn't tell her, and what she couldn't possibly know, was that this was not the end of their meeting but the beginning of a chain reaction that would change her life forever, because that night the billionaire couldn't forget her face, couldn't sleep, couldn't shake the feeling that success meant nothing if it blinded you to suffering, and the next morning he ordered his team to locate the girl discreetly, not to exploit her story but to understand it, and when they returned with the truth, that she lived in a single damp room, that her mother was seriously ill, that the girl went to school only when she could afford books, that she sold flowers every night instead of playing, he made a decision that would redefine his legacy, and when he returned to that street days later and found the girl again, her eyes widened in disbelief, fear mixing with hope, because no rich person ever came back, and as he spoke gently to her and her mother later that evening, promising education, medical care, and dignity without conditions, the girl cried not from sadness but from relief, the kind that releases years of silent pain, and this is where her destiny truly began, not because of money alone, but because one person chose kindness over comfort, presence over passing by, and if this story touched your heart even a little, remember that real change starts with awareness and compassion, so don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because stories like this remind us that humanity still exists, and the next chapter of her journey, and the billionaire's transformation, is only just beginning.